So, welcome back to my studio. My name is Elizabeth Keel and I'm the Program Manager at Project Return. To all my friends and family, I miss you so much. I can't wait for us to be back together again. I know it's hard with the center being closed. We'll have updates for you about center closures. You can always find it on our website, projectreturn.org, or on our Facebook page where we'll be posting valuable updates for you guys. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back. So today we're going to be using markers and water to do a blending technique and create a foreground object. So let's take a look at our class objectives today. So first, we have use markers and water to blend your colors. And I'm going to demonstrate that technique for you. You're going to create a foreground object, an object that's going to be in the front, and demonstrate different stippling, hatching, and cross-hatching techniques. So for our materials today, you're going to need some markers. Now it can be regular Crayolas like I have, or it could be a Sharpie. You'll also need some paper towels to help clean up our mess a little bit. You'll need some Q-tips to help with your blending, and you don't necessarily need this if you don't have them. You can also use cotton balls, the nice kind that you can fluff up like that. It kind of shreds a little bit. So you can use cotton balls. And then you can also use black paint. That's an option too. So our vocabulary is stippling, hatching, cross-hatching. Now up here I've demonstrated a very little bit of those different vocabulary words. So if you can tell me which one is stippling, this one would be stippling. And then if we think about hatching, hatching is where we make our lines going this way. So obviously our cross-hatching is where we have our lines that cross. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that for you. And what we're going to be doing with our stippling today is we're going to be blending. So see how I started with a lot of teal over in the corner, a lot of teal in this corner. Let's do a little bit of cross-hatching there. And then just a little bit there. And we'll do a big dense part of pink. And then tapping with our marker, just tapping up into that. So although we're not mixing colors with our eyes, not exactly in this, the stippling technique was demonstrated for you in your art history class that was discussing pointillism, which is using different colors to mix, optical mixing of the eye to blend our colors. I'm going to stipple like that. And crosshatch. All right. You'll also need some water. I have mine in a spray bottle, and that's just because I have it in my practice and I use it on my palette to keep my paint wet. And so now I might go through our paper a little bit. Now that we've got this, we can take our, and let's see, we'll just add there we go. And we can go ahead and see how it made kind of a lavender. But you can still see your cross-hatching through it. Same thing here. And this mixed the colors. But it kept the stippling. So once that's dry, you can also go back in with your lighter color And just gently add some pink in. It's a good idea to let your paper dry before you do that though. Okay, so if you're working on regular printer paper like this thing here, you may want to put some extra paper underneath. I also have today a piece of mixed media paper like the paper that you got from Miss Madison before we left on our break. Okay, so to start with our colors, I'm going to start with yellow at the very top of my drawing. And I'm going to start off doing a regular hatching technique because I want you to remember that our lightest colors, right? Our lightest colors are going to be used for mixing and blending a lot. And so as we go with our darker colors, we want to make sure that we keep consistent the value that we use. So if we're using a lighter value, we're going to need more of that value and less of our staining color. So let's start off with yellow. Okay, so I went ahead and started the time lapse. And what I started to do is fill in the top part of my paper, maybe the top 1/3. And I decided I'd like it to be about half. And you're going to take your lightest value, which in my case is yellow. It could be pink or it could be light green or doesn't matter. And you're going to fill that value in. And I'm doing some hatching, some cross hatching, using the tip of my marker, using the side of my marker. So I just filled that in. And now I'm going to take my peach color, which is actually tan, and I'm going to go ahead and hatch some in there. Notice how I covered a lot of that yellow up. Because it's very similar in value, very similar in hue, I went ahead and just filled that in. And remember, hue is basically just the color. And then I'm going to add in my orange, and you can immediately see how much darker that orange is, how much darker a value. So I don't need as much of it. So then I add in my orange, some more, kind of got some squiggly lines going in there, and then demonstrating just a little bit of stippling, and we'll be doing more of this later, but demonstrating a little bit of stippling is good, especially when we're trying to blend areas of light colors. So red is being one of our darkest colors that we're going to put down on our paper here. So I went ahead and hatched it and cross hatched it, and I pretty much leave it at that level. I go over a little bit over the orange, a little bit, but I leave it basically the same. And that's pretty good. So you can see the transition. So I'm taking my yellow and I'm blending that in. We know that yellow and red makes orange. So I'm getting some more intense oranges where I'm going over it with my yellow marker. And I would recommend you doing this. I would start with yellow, but it's up to you what you'd like to which color you'd like it to be predominantly. So now I select my pink, which is also very close. And it's my favorite color, so my marker is pretty dry, but I get the most out of it. And then we add our purple. And purple is one of those really dark values. So when I did my initial hatching and cross hatching, I left it very, very light. And I figured that would be enough of the color. And I just added a little tiny bit to go up into that red. But then I decide to take my pink and somehow magically getting a whole bunch more ink coming out of it, start blending. It's always really exciting to see the texture of the paper. You can kind of see that on the right hand side by the pink and purple. Texture of the paper with the marker. Some squiggly lines. Back to cross hatching over those squiggly lines. And then just make sure you get the tops and the bottoms, the corners of your paper You really want to make sure that that's nice and saturated so you're going to get a consistent look all the way around. So a little bit more red. And that's looking pretty good. And so what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be adding in some more purple, darkening that up some, and what we'll get from that is a really deep, beautiful saturation of color, especially after we add our water. So I'm going to take the yellow now, and I'm going to go ahead and apply it all over the paper and through my orange, through my red, just trying to blend it all out. And so now it's time to add some stippling to it. Now it's hard to see the stippling as it is right now, but I'm using the stippling technique here to just fill in wherever I see little random bits of white. And I don't want to cover all of them, but I want to add enough of the color preceding it to influence the way it will blend when I wet it. And so I'm adding a little bit of red into my purple, a little bit of purple into my blue. I'll be putting a little bit of orange and tan into my yellow. And as you can kind of tell, but I'm just lightly tapping. And in the time lapse, obviously, you can't hear me tapping, which is, I think, preferable for all of us. Although it does create a sort of rhythmic, relaxing kind of patterned sound while you're doing it, so it's not totally unpleasant. And so now I've got my tan. If you don't have a full range of markers like I do, I just grabbed what I had, and some are dried out, and I fortunately had this tan, so I went ahead and used it. Now you don't have to blend them in a rainbow spectrum like I did. You can always blend your blues and greens next to each other and then have a section of yellow followed by more blue and green. It doesn't have to be in a straight line like mine is. It could be all kinds of different things. So there we go. Our stippling is complete. And so the next step is to use some water. If you need Q-tips, you can use that to blend, but we're going to go ahead and get it all wet. And if you need to, you can drop water on it, you can use paper towel, you can splash water on it, you can use cotton swabs. And I immediately got a really dark area of pooling, so I thought I'd pick up some of that pigment and just take that off with some cotton balls. See how it gets all black and icky? You might want to rotate your cotton ball. And look at this, guys. Drying it off a little bit. And the real clincher is spraying the water on, and look at that. Satisfying to clean that off, so nice and easy. Washable markers for the win. And there we go. Now we'll let this dry and see how that changes the drawing. So as you can see, the saturation has gone down some in our light areas, especially our yellow. And look what happens when we turn it upside down. I really like that. And so for the last half of our section here, we're just going to go ahead and add our foreground object. And for me, I decided I was going to make it a little landscape. I was thinking about a family of two. I was thinking about the little beautiful dolls that one of my members made of Tori and Seth, little children. Very cute. And I thought, sure, I'd love to have one of those. And so here we are. Me, my husband, and Tori and Seth. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, and find us on our Project Return Facebook page. Have a great day.